A big change to the weather pattern is coming across the country that'll bring noticeable impacts to everyone over the next week. We have one more Arctic outbreak coming to the east where extreme cold is possible as well as snow, but we have a lot of warmth building up in the west, and this will be moving east over the next few days. Much warmer temperatures, a break from this winter-like pattern we've been in is coming. Today in the world of weather, I'll break down what you can expect where you live. So let's get started talking about that Arctic outbreak in portions of the east, because we have another fetch of cold Arctic air coming this weekend. We've kind of been stuck in this pattern of repeated cold blasts over the past few weeks. Each of the cold blasts have kind of aimed at different places. This one will be aiming primarily in the Midwest and Northeast. So the one last weekend, it went all the way down to Florida and affected a lot more areas south. This one will be a little further north, still just as cold though for portions of the Northeast. New England, y'all will be bitterly cold this weekend into next week, and eventually that cold will fade. But over the next few days, very cold, dangerous cold is possible over portions of the Northeast, Midwest, as well as some snow associated with the system. Just how cold temperatures will get? Well, by Friday evening, the cold air will be filtering into the Midwest, and on your day Saturday morning, we're going to be waking up to very cold air starting to spread across the interior. So interior portions of New England as well as the Midwest, sub-zero temperatures are possible, including places like inland New York, most of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. We do have stronger winds making even colder wind chills. On your day Saturday, we likely will not rise above the single digits for interior New England. Portions along the coast will be very cold as well. New York will be falling into the single digits by late Saturday into Sunday evening, and negative temperature values will be spreading across. On your day Sunday morning, this is when dangerous cold descends upon the Northeast. Portions of interior New York could be as cold as negative 30 degrees for air temperatures. Even places along the coast like New York, Boston, y'all will get well down into the single digits with wind chills much colder. So dangerous cold Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, still very cold, but at least a little bit warmer, and then eventually we'll start warming up as we go through the next few days, and the cold will get constricted mainly for Maine and the upper New England. Sampling some of the wind chills on Sunday morning when the worst of the cold, anyone in this dark purple, that's teens or colder, so very cold, but the dangerous cold is in the Northeast where wind chills as low as negative 30 to negative 40 are possible. Places like Boston, you'll be feeling 15 below zero Sunday morning. New York, you could be feeling similarly 10 to 15 below zero, and it's just this very cold air, especially in these dark blue shades, but really anyone in the purple. So you'll want to make sure you're prepared for this. Hypothermia is a real threat with these types of temperatures. Okay, not only do we have the cold coming in, but we also have a decent thumping of snow and some snow squall conditions possible. As I play through the model, as you're waking up Friday morning, we already have a lot of snow falling across portions of the Midwest. There'll be a quick moving piece of energy here that'll be diving to the southeast and east, and this will be bringing some overall light snow, but briefly heavy and briefly windy. That's the main concerns here. So a light dusting of snow, potentially some heavier snow mixing into Chicago, area southeast. This moves very fast though, so Ohio, by the time Friday morning at 8 a.m., you could be dealing with some decent amount of snow, and then this will continue east, portions of Virginia, Pennsylvania, a wintry mix of snow and rain down south, but up to the north it'll be all snow. This area of snow will be moving quickly east through the day on Friday. Our main area of concern is actually not with this initial burst of snow, but it's actually behind it. Look at what some of our models are doing here. All of this, where the radar is kind of a little more straggly and not as widespread, these are snow squalls that the model is picking up on, and it's basically we have some residual upper energy, and it's going to be providing a lot of winds, and any little snow that gets picked up in this will be blown very strong. So in these bands, it's not really the intensity or the amounts of snow, but it's the wind threat with it blowing snow everywhere, and it'll be very easy for visibility to drop. So this could create hazardous travel, almost blizzard-like conditions briefly if you're in the snow squall, and then as soon as it passes, it'll quickly clear. So we want to make sure we're prepared for some potential travel impacts. This is Friday evening at 10 p.m. Some decently heavy snow squalls near portions of the Appalachians moving east. In the Northeast, you'll be dealing with a decent thumping of snow late Friday into Saturday, and again, we do have that snow squall threat within any of these bands. Lots of moving snow, lots of blinding snow, at least while it's falling, before everything starts to settle down later on your day Saturday. Snow total is not too impressive. Anyone in the white, you could see a dusting up to an inch or two of snow. Some of the locally higher areas in the Appalachian Mountains across this stretch in the Midwest in the blue, y'all could be looking maybe 3 to 5 inches of snow, so not anything crazy. A lot of places in New England, y'all will generally be less than 3 inches of snow. It's the wind that's really the bigger concern with this. So look, as this piece of energy comes in, we can see all these winds picking up, and then especially within those snow squalls, see some of these banding effects here on the radar. Within some of these snow bands, we could have 40-50 mile per hour wind gusts, and that combined with the blinding snow not only creates low visibility, but could also blow around some tree limbs, maybe bring some localized power outages. That's a threat that we want to watch out for. Again, some very concentrated wind bands, especially also if you're right up against the Appalachian Mountains, the winds will kind of funnel down there. So that's where 60 isolated 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible. And it's just going to be a really blustery day all day across portions of the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast. And continuing on your day Saturday, some gusty winds develop even further east. Look at this, noon on Saturday, it could be gusting up toward 50 miles per hour in Washington. Gusty winds move to the northeast through the day. So this is another hazard that you'll want to be mindful of and not let you catch off guard. Over the last few weeks, we've kind of been locked in this cold weather pattern where we have lobes of cold air moving south. Actually, this is a part of a larger scale weather pattern called the Arctic Oscillation, and we've been in the negative phase, and that's really what's been contributing to these cold blasts across the central and eastern US. Meanwhile, the west, y'all have been really warm as the jet stream has kind of ridden way up and ridged all the way up into Canada. Here's the deal though, this is switching over the next week. We're going to go from a negative phase into more of a neutral or even a positive phase of the oscillation. All this means is the cold air will kind of be retreating further north, the jet stream will flatten out a lot, and this will lead to overall warmer and quieter conditions across the US, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to after a lot of the recent cold. So taking a look at the temperatures, again, we have the extreme cold blast in the east, but look from the central US to the west, the warm air that's kind of been compiling in the west will finally be able to spread east. So portions of the plains, you could be pretty well above average on your day Sunday, and the warmth just expands across the plains, moving further east. Very well above average temperatures possible on Tuesday across portions of the plains, but even into the southeast, portions of the Midwest will be warming up in a big way. Now, it is still winter, it's still February, so it's still not going to be warm or hot, but it just won't be bitterly cold and as winter-like as it has been over the past few weeks. Continuing on, this pattern might stick around for most of next week, especially in areas further south. Areas further north, we could see a few more cold blasts trying to come in as we head into the later part of the week, but in general, I don't see any signals, at least in the next week, for any more big Arctic blasts once the one this weekend passes. Translating that to actual air temperatures, look at this. On Monday afternoon, we could have 70s, pretty expansive across Texas, Oklahoma. The 60s go all the way up into Nebraska, portions of the Midwest and the Southeast, and that's pretty warm for this time of year. Look at this, Tuesday afternoon, we could be even warmer across portions of the South where more 70s are prevalent. Notice to the north, we do get some cooling with our next front, but this is much milder, much more pleasant air and temperatures than it has been for sure. Even at night, yeah, we get cold into the 30s and 20s, but not bitterly cold into the single digits like we have been recently. With this quieter pattern, we also aren't looking at any big time storms. So look, as we go through this weekend, you'll notice we have those snow squalls that snow in the northeast, an area of low pressure bombing out over the ocean. That'll move east though, be out of our concern, and after that, I'm not seeing any signals for any major weather systems this week. Now, on the flat jet stream, there could be a few impulses of energy. We could have a little rain across Texas on Tuesday, maybe a dash of snow to the north. Also, midweek, this system might move east. Another dash of snow possible for the northeast, middle of the week, Wednesday potentially. But overall, notice no big systems, nothing really jumping out on this weather map. Some light precipitation here and there, but we get a break from the big time snowstorms. Now, something I do want to warn about is whenever we get a lot of this warm air compiling in the east, it can often lead to severe weather. If we get a piece of energy, some cold air moving back in, it can clash with that warm air, and the battle zone between the cold and warm, that can spark some thunderstorms. We don't have any clear signals for severe weather right now, but it's possible that when winter does come back, because I don't think winter's done yet, we get some more thunderstorms, maybe some more activity in that transition zone. That would probably occur next week or even beyond, so we have a lot of time to watch that, but just something I'm keeping an eye on over the next few weeks. So yeah, that's a look at the weather over the next week in the country. Notice we have a lot of warmth, that cold blast coming to the east, some snow and wind associated with it, but after that, warmth returns and in a much bigger way for a much larger portion of the US. So you'll definitely notice the warmer temperatures, especially compared to recently. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll have more updates as our weather pattern continues to unfold and we get closer into spring. Until then, hope you all have a good one.